Hey there, parents. How you doing? Welcome back to another series video here with Growing With Chapter 7. And so we're getting towards the end of the book. There's only 8 chapters in the book. And so I'm going to have at least one, maybe 2 more videos, but looking to kind of wrap this series up and then hopefully maybe move on to something else. But hoping that you're continuing to enjoy this. I really encourage you, if you haven't read, I just really encourage you, whether this book, which can be a great resource to read. Obviously, watching these videos are kind of a quick synopsis of each chapter. But maybe just trying to have a goal to read one parenting book a year. I think that's an awesome goal to have as a parent, to continue to learn and grow. I view as disciples of Christ, followers of Jesus, we're constantly a work in progress. And so how do we grow, learn, develop? And part of that's being in God's Word, part of it's being in fellowship and community with groups like this. And part of this, I think, is reading and learning from different experts and different people they're here to help assist us. And I know the authors, I've actually seen Kara Powell speak live at a conference before, and I know she has an incredible heart for not only Christ, but for helping people like myself and parents grow and help lead children and youth and develop students as they continue to grow up. A bunch of stuff in this chapter. There is no way at all I can capture it all, but here's what I just thought stood out, and there's a lot of other stuff that does stand out. But first is the topic is adulting, and a term that we've been using a lot recently in culture, subculture, but it talks about what responsibility and with adulting, that responsibility that you give, and here's what I'm trying to say, is I would just start with this question. What responsibility have you given to your child? This goes into a lot of like relationships and sex and dating and other things like that. But I think it starts here. And I know some of you don't have, a kid going off to college or a junior or senior in high school. And I think that book, the book, Chapter 7, talks a little bit more about maybe high school students. But here's what I want you to think about. I think adulting starts with, how do you start to make that transition? And this is what the book is getting at. The transition of going from parenting and doing, everything for that infant child, where now you have this middle school or this high school or potentially this college 20-something, whatever, growing up, that you're going to slowly do less and less and less for. And there's some loss there, and that transition can be hard. But also, just right now, what responsibility does your 4th grader, your 5th grader, your 9th grader, however old your kids are, do they currently have? What chores do they have? At our house, our kids just got kittens. And so, we've just said, like, we're going to have these kittens. Their responsibility, most of the time, not probably all the time, but most of the time, is to change the kitty litter. Our kids hate doing it. They don't want to do it, but I don't want our house to smell. And so my wife and I, we just keep saying, no, you have to do it. You have to love and care for these kittens. They're a responsibility. And you guys really wanted these, and so you guys need to clean the kitty litter. And so actually, coincidentally, this morning, as we're leaving to run out the door for school, they had to clean the kitty litter. And so it's something that I've had to dig my feet in. I've had to be relentless about and just say, no, I'm not doing it every time. You need to do it. So it's important to give your child responsibility and start to pass those things off, as they're going to have to do these adult things as they get older. A second thing in the book that I took away was it talked about peer pressure, which I think is real, but also, more importantly, they use the terms friend influence. A perfect example would be, I think, cell phones and or something like Fortnite. I look at my own family and how that wasn't even something they were aware of, but because friends, other people are doing it, they want to be part of that culture that's participating and doing these things. Then another thought would be with that is it starts talking about partying and different things like that, but it's more about the community. And I think I've seen that more and more. And so a perfect example would be like the high school football game. I know, like, I've been up at Lutheran South, and junior high and younger kids aren't even there to watch the football game. They're just there to hang out and talk with their friends and interact and have fun together. Next thing that I think it talks about in there is that I thought was important was, when it comes to the activities that your child participates in, how well and how versed are you on those activities? What is your child's favorite activity? And how well do you interact and know about that? The book talks about how with how video games aren't Atari anymore, it's hard to maybe be up on all those. But in the book, in the chapter, it talks about how we can maybe research and learn more about those and be able to have conversations about those, even though maybe we don't play those games directly, as one example. Or maybe your child's really into playing an instrument. You may not have the gift to play that instrument, but you could kind of learn more about that and be able to dialogue and have that information. This is something that I do regularly in very simple forms in interacting with youth. I get to know them, find something they're interested in, and I just ask them questions about it. Even though I may not know anything, sometimes I even admit my ignorance about the topic, that they can say, okay, Daniel, here's what you need to know about this. And that is helpful. Final thing that I'll pull from this is that it talks about the one author talks about like having a garage time where they're able to make a decision, and in the moment when your child wants to do something and you need to talk it through with the other spouse, and how do you have that happen? Obviously, that can be a situation where arguments and fights can kind of fester and build up, but what is your process? I think it's a little intimidating to read the chapter of the book, and I don't know if it's Kara or Steve that says it, but they've got like a process. Maybe that's something that you want to talk through with your spouse this week, is what is your guys' process? And sometimes, often in life, it's not that there's no process, it's that it's maybe not as formalized. And we've kind of this process, and it depends on the situation, but maybe formalizing that process could improve your guys' communication as a couple, so that when your child comes and says, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I have this? Can I have that? You can have a process in which that you make that decision, which will then, I think, be helpful for your child to know then how that process is going to go down. And if you're consistent as best you can with that, I think that decreases drama, those types of things. Okay, so a lot of other things that are in this chapter. Sex and dating, it talks about having more than one conversation. I know I do 5th grade sex education to the boys at Green Park. I'm always curious how many conversations parents have beyond just maybe a one-time telling them how things happen, that kind of thing. That's an ongoing dialogue. A lot of other things in there about sex and drugs, different things like that. So I really encourage you to maybe spend some time with this chapter. Obviously, I've given you more than enough things to discuss today. And so I'm just blessings on your time together as you share. And I think it'll be great to see, just even hear, what responsibility have you given your child? And maybe that's a great place to start. So blessings on your week, and we will see you next week. Thank you.